What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Jesse's Performance. Another night, another project. This is going to be like my first video that I'm doing since the wreck with the Integra. So I'm kind of still on light duty, still taking it easy, but I'm itching to get to work. So let's get to work. All right, so I haven't made it 100% official yet, but I guess this is kind of going to be it. This is going to be the day that I let the world know that the NASROD is getting a completely new setup. I'm going to take the wheels, the engine, the cab, and the bed off of the NASROD and the grill and headlights, and I'm going to completely redo the whole chassis, drivetrain, everything. And what I've decided to do is, ever since I've built that thing, I've wanted it to drift better. I've always wanted to drift it. And the four-wheel drive and the axle binding and just the mechanics of that setup is really, really hard to drift. It's really it just was not built with the intentions of drifting, even though I wanted to drift it. It's just, obviously we could have used a Silverado chassis or a Trailblazer chassis and just put our motor in it and done that. And a lot of guys are doing that with a lot of success. And, kudos to those guys. I'm not that kind of guy. I kind of, think outside the box when I do things like that. But Kyle and I decided, hey, we made it work. We've done our four-wheel drive burnouts. We've tied it to things and done really cool videos. Let's make the NASROD fun to drive, because it's actually not fun to drive. It's just a really cool experience to drive, but it's so hard to drive that it just does not want to drive. So what I've decided to do is I have this 2007 Chevy Corvette Z06 front K-member and suspension rack and pinion setup here. I have a mock-up LS2 block. I have a QuickTime Performance C6 bell housing, and then I have the torque tube TR6060 and the rear end out of a C6 Z06. This all came out of the same wreck car, the block didn't, but same kind of motor to be in this car. But and I got everything as much as I could get from the guy. I got really, like, lower control arms, upper control arms, axles. A lot of guys don't know these Corvettes, even this new, are leaf spring. They're not shock and coilover. So these got the factory leaf springs in there. And what I'm going to do is, this is the old jig table that we had built for Stacie's Transmero, right? That car came out really straight and hauls ass, so I figured I'd build this chassis on it too. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this engine in the cradle with the mount adapters I got here, with this block, this bell housing, and I'm going to put it all together. And what's really unique about these Corvettes with this torque tube setup like this here, once that's all bolted together and tight, it basically, you can put wheels on it and it's like a freestanding rolling chassis then. It's just really cool. I saw a picture of it and I was like, man, that's really cool. Like, if we could just start with that and build a chassis off that. So the only thing I do need to do is, there are factory pieces of frame that go like right here that these control arms bolt to, right? Front and rear. So I'm trying to source a Corvette locally here, like a part out or a wrecked one that I can go and just cut those sections out. The guy I bought this stuff from said I could have those off of there, but he's like a really busy guy and hard to get a hold of. So I'm just going to have to move on and try and get something else going on. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to try and get this thing together, and maybe I'll put some wheels on it, and then I'm going to build some basically outriggers off of this frame table to hold the tires and wheels where I want to. That way that gives me like a baseline to where the ground is at. So the top of this frame of this table here will be considered ground level. So I can measure ground clearance, you know, make sure we got at least 4 inches of ground clearance, because that's, in my experience, has been a really good number for ground clearance. So about everywhere you go, like you'll get some scrapes and shit will happen, but like if you're gonna have 4 inches, you're gonna be able to get around pretty easy. Let me see here. Is there anything else I need to tell you guys? I got with Josiah at FDF and the guys over at Drift HQ, and we kind of been working on this deal a little bit. Josiah's a wizard when it comes to these C6 deals. He developed this whole new Pro kit. It's called the Pro Kit for the front and Pro Kit for the rear. What it does is it uses the E46 rack, relocates it, new uppers, new lowers, obviously coilovers, new hubs and spindles in the front, and same for the rear. They did all that. They added, you know, the spindles got a secondary e-brake setup for the back. So I got with Drift HQ and FDF, and we got that stuff coming for this car. So it's going to be full pro spec drift car suspension and steering. So it's going to have almost, I think it's like 75 plus degrees of angle. I mean, I think you could go almost all the way up to 90 if the wheels will not hit a frame, which I'm building it however I want. So that's not going to be an issue for us. And then I'm going to be able to completely adjust the grip in the rear, adjust the toe almost on demand. Like, this thing's going to be absolutely insane. Kyle and Steve over at Steve Morris Engines, we've been flirting with an engine combination for this here, and we think it's best just to take the old mule out of the NASROD, give it a quick freshen up and run it and just see how it runs with this combination. If we have too much grip and we need more power, we'll put a set of twin turbos on it. But long term, I want to put a Lamborghini V10 in this thing, a 5.2 liter twin turbo deal. That was my original plan when rebuilding this here, but I have not been able to source all the parts in a reasonable amount of time. And burnout season and drift season is upon us. So I have no choice but to get on the horse and ride and build something. I'm going to try and build this thing in 30 days. That's my goal from this moment forward. I haven't told that goal to even Stacie or Kyle or nobody, but like starting right now, I want to have this thing together in 30 days. Come Monday, I'm going to put a big old metal order in. I think I'm going to build this thing out of the Dockel R8. Since I don't have to be a pro drift spec chassis, I can use that seamed tube. The R8 is really light like chrome moly. It's stronger than chrome moly. A lot of sanctioned bodies let you use it. Formula Drift does not let you use it for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's too hard to manage the thicknesses, or maybe it's just too new of a material to test. I don't know. But we did all that Dockel R8 when we did the chassis on the Burnbird. It shows up really nice polished. It looks like stainless steel. It's super nice. And it doesn't tarnish. So my plan is to actually build that chassis and have it just clear coated, just powder coated, clear coat. That way all the craftsmanship even shines through further, because I was looking at old pictures of this here when I built the chrome moly cage, and when we had it all, just the cage was there and the body was rusty and stuff. It looked really, really cool. So I think that's what we're going to do with that. Sorry, Stacie, this is a really long piece of this video. I'm just going on and on, but I've had a lot of thoughts. I got to catch the people up on this stuff. So, but I'm going to put the phone down. I'm going to get the tripod going, and I'm going to start working on this thing and see where I can get here by myself. I'm probably going to have to use some ratchet straps, and yeah, we'll see where we get. So, but here we go.
I'm
All right, so I got all this kind of bolted together and set up here and squared up. So I was kind of getting ahead of myself here, but what I'm going to do now is I'm taking the C channel and I'm going to lay this across here like this here just to brace this up, because what I'm doing is I cut this other C channel here, one for each side, that I'm actually going to clamp up here and weld to my table. And that's going to be my level. Like I said, this is going to be my ground level here, this edge of the steel. So it's going to come out and my wheel is going to sit on that, and that's going to allow me to put load on the suspension and transmission and stuff. So I'm going to use this here. I made a mark so we can kind of keep things straight from here back to there. It's 26 inches. I did that on both sides. I'll double verify. I'm not going to weld that. I'm just gonna let that sit there, but then I'm gonna pick these pieces up here and I'll clamp it to this, and then I'll weld this C channel here to this frame, and then I'll be able to pull this out, mount wheels up here, and they'll sit on the extension here, and I'll be able to strap it to it. So, and then I'll do the same with the front. This one here is cut from my driver's side over here. So, yeah, it's pretty easy. Let me see here. Can I back this up? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, this here is just gonna get clamped up here. It's gonna allow me to know that that's nice and true and flat. I'll clamp it up there. I'll weld that to this table so I know that that's good. And then my wheels can sit on these pieces. So let me get this done. All right, so I got the new NASROD running gear up here on this table. I got the front wheels up on here with the adapters. These use a 5x114 wheel. The factory Corvette is 5x120. I only have 2 of the adapters for the front because the rear axles were 5x114 on the NASROD before, so I'm not able to run those rears, but luckily I got some meats, you know, laying around here. This is very motivational for me. This is like where the vision starts. This is super cool. So I think the next step here is to figure out a few things. So I have this LS2 up in here. These engine mounts, I don't think we're going to use. I think I'm going to actually continue to use the motor plate and tie that into the chassis, in a mid plate and a front plate. One of the major things I'm seeing is we have a real deep Dan Olson dry sump oil pan on the NASROD motor now, and I want to keep that, but we have clearance issues. This leaf spring's going to go away, so I'm not worried about that, but we have issues with basically this cross member that's cast into this K member here. So I'm going to either have to machine that out and drop it down and retie it back in, which I can build a piece to use this motor mount structure and tie that in. That's one option. B, another option is to move the motor back, which is going to be about 10 inches to clear all of that, which is an option I'm heavily thinking about because this wheelbase is actually 10.5 inches shorter than the NASROD used to be. So I don't know proportionally what that's going to look like until I get the cab over here, which I think I'm going to do before I decide, you know, on this motor mount setup. But because I really like the long, low proportion that it used to have, and I'm worried that moving this tire center line back 10 inches, because that's all we're losing. Everything else measures about the same. So moving this center line back, I don't know what that's going to do for the visual appeal of this car. Obviously, if you lengthen the wheelbase, I think the car doesn't drift as technically as it would. It'll be way more stable. This car has always been really stable. So real stable at high speeds, real smooth into long corners, just like always. But You know, I want it to drift and feel like a C6 Corvette drifting, so changing that wheelbase is going to change that. So big decisions to make there. I think it's all going to be what it looks like visually, because at the end of the day, the way this thing, you know, it's going to drive so much better anyways, that visually I just got to get the car to look like we didn't completely change it and ruin it. So, but here it is. You know, it's up on the table. If I change the wheelbase, I'll just move these plates forward 10 inches, move all this forward 10 inches, and I'll just have to build a jig, some sort of motor mount setup. No big deal to move that back 10 inches, which will just be an adapter that moves that all back. No big deal. So that'll just be for mock-up anyways, because this is all only kind of temporary setup until we start putting tubes in here. But I got to get the body in here. I got to get a seat kind of mounted up in here and just go from there. But as you can see, we have a lot of ground clearance right now. Like, I mean, we probably have 10 inches between the bell housing and where the ground height is to this tabletop here. So yeah, that there's about like, you know, 10 inches or so, 8 to 10 inches. So we got to come down with this car a bunch, because I want that to be, basically that's going to be the lowest point of the car, is this flange. And I'll probably actually take and machine that down just so we don't have a big old hanging lip. But that's usually like the lowest part. So we'll have to get this thing on some coilovers and get it down. But there it is. It's in the works. The NASROD 2.0 has begun. Day one is over. We got 29, let's say 30 days left. We'll just go from 30 days from today forward, because I finished all this last night. So 30 days from today forward, let's get her done. I'm ready to crank on. I'm ready to put some time in this deal. We still got customer cars we're doing during the day, but at nighttime, I'm going to be humping on this old girl. Let's get it. Well, now that you're up to speed with what we're doing on the NASROD, make sure you stay tuned for future videos to see the full build of this thing, because we're going to give it all to you. Don't forget to check out our jessiestore.com for all our merchandise and great savings on a lot of great products. Don't forget to ring the bell, subscribe, do all that stuff. Help us get paid. Building these cars ain't cheap. Neither is all the Mountain Dew we drink. So thanks for everything, everybody. Catch you next time.